So I just promised the Lord, I said, Lord, you just get me home, I'll make it right with you. So when it came time for me to come home, we got on the ship, and on the way home, well, it was real foggy, Brother Peter, and coming into Los Angeles, and the only thing was stuck in my mind that how this lighthouse was out there. It was guiding us to the shore. And finally, after so many hours, we came into the port in Los Angeles, and got there, and it just so good to feel, touch the old Mother Earth again, Didn't think I'd ever come back to it from after the war, but God spared my life. So finally, I went on down to another station and received a discharge, and I came, got on the bus and came home, and I had, as I said, I had a praying mother, and she wanted me to go to church, with her, and I'd go with her, and I met my wife, and we all went to church, but I was so under conviction I could never get satisfied. And I just went to one altar after another one. So I told my mother, I said, Mother, I don't have what you have, but I said, one of these days, I said, I know what I'm looking for. And so practically a year had passed. It was 1946, and my wife, she wanted to be back in Arizona, Arkansas it was, to where our first baby was to be born. And so after our baby was born, well, we heard Brother Brandon going to be in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And so as we thought on it, and I said, well, honey, I said, I don't want to go unless you go. She said, you go ahead. She persuaded me to go ahead. It's getting a big bus load, to go over there. And so I said, okay, I'll go with them. And so we got on the bus and started out for Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And Brother Peter, coming up to the meetings, people was coming in ambulance, and people was dropped them off on any way to get there in this church we were at. And we got up there, and the top balcony is the only seats we could get. And while Brother Brandon was coming out and bringing the message, he preached a very short message, and he had a prayer line. And this boy that went over with me on this bus, he was cross-eyed, and a few other people that I knew that were very ill. And so as I was watching Brother Brandon pray, and blind eyes open and deaf ears unstopped, well, I couldn't get over that feeling. I wanted to shake that man's hand. And so I pressed my way down through the crowd, and I got to Brother Brandon, and I said, Brother Brandon, I'd love to shake your hand. So I got in and I shook his hand. It was just like if you touch a hot wire. I never felt anything like it. And so I went outside. I was so under conviction that I wanted to know the truth. And so I throwed my cigarettes under the car. And I looked up to heaven. I said, Lord, I says, if this is what I'm looking for, I says, let me shake his hand one more time. Let me feel that presence that I felt the first time. So I went back in there. I pressed my way through the crowd again and shook Brother Brandon's hand. And it's the same thing. I felt the same thing. I was satisfied. I didn't understand it, but I knew that what I was looking for, that I was happy. And I just went on till I received the baptism of the Holy Ghost, and God marvelously satisfied my heart and life. Later down the years, Well, God revealed to me, what the first and second, third pull was. But anyway, after that, we went on back home. And told my wife all the good things, what was taking place, and then give my testimony in church, how God just opened my eyes to this message, And so we went on after that, I guess maybe a couple weeks later, my wife and I, we got in a car and we taken off back to California, our home was there. And so Brother Branham was going to be up in Fresno, California, a little town the other side of Fresno. And so we found out, so we went up there. And we was sitting there in the church, and we just to being around Brother Branham and his presence, it was more unspeakable and full of glory. You just can't explain it, You just wanted to come back in his meetings. And so my wife, she went through the prayer line. Said, I want to go through the prayer line to be prayed for. Now this is the same year as we was in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, about a month or so later. And so I was sitting there in the seat, and something says to me, get up and go thank Brother Branham for what he has done for you. And my heart just began to beat, Brother Peter, and it just kept getting harder and harder. And so he says, get up and go thank Brother Branham for what he's done for you. And so I got up and got in the line. I went in there, and when I got up to Brother Branham, he just stopped and looked at me. He said, what can I do for you, brother? I said, Brother Branham, I just want to thank you for what you've done for me in the meeting at Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I give my heart to the Lord in your meeting. I just want to thank you. He just paused a minute, and he says, when there are 10 lepers cleansed and one returned to give God the glory. I didn't understand it. I hadn't read that much about the Bible. And he says to me, he says, what can I do for you, brother? I said, well, I didn't know what to say. I paused a minute and I began to ask the Lord. I said, Lord, what shall I ask for, And something says to me, he said, ask Brother Branham to pray for you that you go all the way. And I said, Brother Branham, would you pray for me that I will go all the way? And he said a simple prayer, but words couldn't express it, the goodness that it's always stuck with me, and it never has got away from me, He says, I'll meet you on the other side. That part I've always stood on, Brother Peter. And so later down the years, and I think it's 1958, Brother Branham was in San Jose. So I wanted to take some pictures of Brother Branham, and we were out there in the back, the auditorium, as he's coming into the back. And there's a sister out there named Sister Listen. I asked Sister Listen, I said, Brother Branham's going to be through here in a minute. And I said, I'd love to have you take some pictures of us, together. And so Brother Branham showed up, and so I taken some pictures of him and his family. And so I asked him, I said, Brother Branham, I'd sure love to have a picture of you. And so he said, well, sure, brother. I'll never forget them words. He says, I was standing just about this far from him. He says, let's get a little closer. He pulled me in towards him, and put his arm around me. And he says, I said, Brother Branham, I said, I give my heart to Lord in your meeting in 1946. And he says, no, brother, it was 1947. And so it got me thinking, and got me digging a little more, what he said. And but anyway, after that, I began to see who the man was. God began to open my eyes, Brother Peter, who the prophet was, As he said, on tape, as John the Baptist, the forerunner of the first coming, he says he'll pack this message forerunner of the second coming. But see, I didn't realize that then. But it wasn't time for it to be revealed to me, even though that seed was lying there, and that, that had to shine on it, for it to come forth. But gradually it was coming forth. And I just thank the Lord for that. I'm glad to share the little experience with a brother and that over there in Belgium, and that I had seen the prophet and the prophet's son, the prophet's you know, and the daughters, you know, I've been with them, and it's been a blessing to me. And I'm very happy to share these few words with you.